Thank you for that warm introduction. Can I have that first video play just to set things up? Otherwise, everything I say will seem like science fiction. After all, I did write for Star Trek. So what you're seeing here, actually we did more than 3 years ago. Nobody can come close to doing that still. This is the robot wandering around in Saudi Arabia in October of 2022, interacting with folks. This is a demonstration of both strength and dexterity because he stacked those other two bricks and had to adjust it. You can use pretty much any tool other than scissors. Scissors require you to splay your fingers. But dexterity is enough also to take a pinch of salt. And so pick up heavy bricks, but also take a pinch of salt. Now, we use wheels. Here it's risen up to be 6'2". It goes from 5'2" to 6'2", depending upon its task. It's completely humanoid from the waist up, and then it has a synthetic brain and what we call expert minds that we're training for specific things, like to be a nurse assistant or an eldercare specialist or a therapist or work at McDonald's if you want. This was a test actually done on day one during COVID. This is at a $10,000 dinner gala at the Explorers Club in 22. This is at True Pace in 21. So our first test was actually in an eldercare sort of daycare facility where everyone's 65 and above for dentist, for medical, for rehab, for social. A bus picks you up and brings you there. There's Bill being tested by the robot. And have a nice day. Thanks for watching.
Wow. You guys should be much more impressed by that. Wow. So Harry and Bill, I have had the distinct honor of spending multiple hours on Zoom with you guys, riffing on all kinds of things that for the layperson would be completely science fiction. And we are looking at ways to integrate our two worlds and have them all work together. And isn't it amazing in this Art of Human Care panel, we go from purpose, which we're still talking about human purpose, and then to robots. The irony is not lost on me, but it was very intentional, and here's why. Harry, how do you define a synthetic brain? How do you define that?
So for us, we model it off the human brain. So just like your brain has multiple lobes, which are actually different neural nets, not the same neural net for vision or for cognitive or for haptics, we're developing the same. So looking at different engines, not recreating the engines, but how we're applying them and integrating them into physics. It can learn from you to do human tasks. And so it's not an LLM, it's not gonna go hallucinating and attack somebody. It has multiple channels, just like you do. If your vision, your hearing, your touch don't line up, you know something's wrong, so you don't do it. Same thing in our system. A big key of this is personal medicine, because the robots and its AI will, first of all, provide much more human care than humans currently are. It will also democratize care, because once I do create it, then it's just the cost of the hardware, which is pretty low in comparison to the cost of a nurse or a doctor. I can take the 2 billion people that the UN says aren't getting care and deliver care to them. The other thing I can do is take the 75% of elders who don't have even access to an elder care person and provide it to them. Imagine not only in your home, but if you're at the mall or if you're at CVS, being able to just go up and have some care from the robot, but also from your own doctor, because our system also can be operated by humans from anywhere on the planet. Mm-hmm. So if you had done heart surgery on a patient and he's 1,000 miles away and you want to check in on him, you literally could just pop in and check on him.
Wow. So it's awesome. It is awesome. So Bill, you have a background in gaming. We're going to have an opportunity to talk a little bit more about that later on in the program. How did you take the gaming and get it into robots? Where did that bridge come from? How did that
A
happen?
lot of different ways to answer that question. Harry and I connect on the basis of being a combination of technical and artistic people, because we are both highly technical and highly artistic, and that's part of our being and it's part of the way we do it. And I've been a big fan of education that includes the liberal arts as well as the technology. I deliberately didn't go to the engineering degree at school because I wanted to take Shakespeare. And I successfully studied with the Royal Shakespeare of London in my final quarter at UCLA. So
That's really cool.
But what we want to do, and the importance of what I bring to it, is from the technology that I do, from the products that I do, I've always had to do more with less. And to understand what the limits of technology really are, and what you can do and what you can't do, and what you should be able to do. There's all these meta concepts that have nothing to do with which programming language you choose. I mean, that's important. And there's lots of other things that are important. But the bigger picture is, are you on the right track? Are you doing things that make sense? Are you doing things in the most effective, efficient, optimal, smart, forward-thinking ways? And those are the really big questions, and that's where I spend my time trying to figure out what to do, and that's where we've been, I think, successful in identifying things that do and don't work right now. And we look at what everybody else is doing, we're like, yeah, good luck with that.
Right. And Harry, when people are thinking about, the future, the future's now, no pun intended, but when they're thinking about the future and they're thinking about robots, you were very deliberate in saying that this could help humans.
Yeah, Bill and I both, and Ray Kurzweil, who's my executive co-founder, is very focused on not lifting boxes and putting items into it, but instead, how do you use these to improve care of humans? How do you use them both in elder and in medicine? And later on, you could use them in other aspects. My big focus, for multiple reasons, in my teenage years and beyond, I was a high-level black belt. I have like 9 black belts. The highest is 3rd degree. No one would have ever guessed that because I was born crippled. My legs were backwards, 210 degrees. And during that time, I started to think about using robots for remobilization. Like I could become one. After I overcame that, I still have that desire. So people ask, why do I keep going on? Well, I have to. It's a life's mission. And I had the good fortune to have a mother who was like, doctors don't know what they're talking about because they said you'd just be crippled your entire life. So she tried alternative methods, therapy methods, and after 2 years of fairly painful procedures in terms of just exercise, and I could do more than walk. So a very personal level for healthcare for these systems.
I want to pull on the string a little bit. You're right, doctors don't always know what they're talking about, and I can attest to that firsthand. So Bill, when you talk about there's so many lines and ways in which you found your purpose in this current work, what were some of the things early in life that steered you in this direction?
I think I had fabulous teachers when I was in high school. I was very lucky to be in the gifted program when I was in high school, and they used to take us to the theater all the time. We got tickets to South Coast Repertory Theater, which is one of the famous repertory theaters here on the West Coast. And I would go to the theater. It's great when you can take your girlfriend out on a date, borrow your dad's nice car, and go to the theater. Yeah, that's classy. And besides, they were really good plays. And that kind of kicked me off in that direction. And then I played a lot of games. I had a good friend of mine who's totally different than me. And this is why we got along so well. I have a lot of friends like that now. They're totally different people than me. And we got along great. And we used to play board games all the time. And so by the time I got into high school, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the kind of things I wanted. And they were a combination of the creative and the technical, and I always felt very strongly about that. And I didn't really understand it at the time. When I was 16, I did not get exactly how that fit, because it didn't fit. Right. It didn't make any sense at all. But once I got to college, I started piecing it together, and after several decades of work in my field, it finally struck me that, oh yeah, that is what I'm doing after all. I got a chance to work in aerospace, or I could have worked in video games, and I always told everybody, I could always get a real job. Right. I'm going to work in video games because it's cool. And it wasn't cool then, by the way. In 1981, that was not the cool. That was the dumb job to get. But anyway, and so it's always been a combination. And that's why you hear us, and I wanted to bring this up, when we're talking about the robot and how it interacts and what it does in the real world, one of my first questions is, what does it feel like? which is a weird question to ask. And I think most of the tech people don't ask that. But that's why Harry and I feel so strongly about what we're doing, is because we're much more interested in what the experience, the total crafted experience of interacting with the box is, not just having this thing that's there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a thing. There's more to it than that. There's a story that's involved in it. I can go on a lot more, but let's keep going.
I have to ask this question with this context. You both are humans. Everyone agree?
How do you know?
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Actually,
sure.
I've been accused of
How do
being a
we know?
Cylon more than once.
We checked you at the door. You didn't know. We had some lasers and some X-ray machines out there. No, you both are human, and you've created this incredible technology together with your teams, and you're pushing the envelope even further. You both thoroughly enjoy your work. What is it about what you do that brings you joy?
Personal purpose and societal purpose. There's many ways that I could earn a lot of money that don't require me to work 24/7. Like even when I'm asleep, I wake up at 3 a.m. How do I solve that problem? Or how do I raise the next round? Or how do I do this? And so for me, and I'm sure for Bill as well, it's the fact that it's the idea that we can actually take our skills and make a difference and make other people's lives better in the same way that my mom made my life better and his mom made his life better, or his family or his friends. We got here because other people had purpose, like our teachers and our friends and our mentors.
Yeah, I draw power from helping people, from being strong, from helping them be strong, from seeing them grow. You know, I run a video game contest. The entire purpose of the contest, we're all volunteers, is to get kids something on the resume and to teach them to do something that'll improve their life, that'll improve their status in the business and improve themselves as a people. And so I do that, and I draw a lot of power from all the different projects I do, and you can hear me getting energized when I talk about, hey, you know, I write video games and I do user interface design and I save women's lives by helping them not die of cancer. You know, I mean, that to me is energizing. I love doing that. That's why I'm still in the business after 40 years, because it's worth doing. Why would I not want to do this? People I know, they want to retire. I'm like, wait a minute, what? What's that concept mean exactly? Because why would I not want to do this? So.
Yeah. Well, how do you guys keep this burning desire of purpose and intensity, and also the action to keep going in face of all the problems? What fuels your purpose and your drive to continue in this type of work?
I think it's this inner perseverance. Mm-hmm. It's more perseverance than intelligence or anything else that gets you across the goal. That's, I think, going to lift your heart up and other people's heart up. Then it's a little easier. But look, there are times when you're just like, oh my God, this is so hard. Can I just get off the Ferris wheel? But then you go, no, you can't. You have this inner dialogue of going, no, you can't do that, because who else is going to do this? And right now I look at all the folks that we've inspired, because we started this entire industry of the electronic humanoid robots. Before us, there was Boston Dynamic and Toyota and Honda, but they are hydraulic robots pretty much for the military or heavy industry. Yeah. So we started this, and now when we started in 2018, people were like, no one's going to have humanoid robots. Even in 2020, well, why would you do that? Just build a specific thing to flip a burger. Now it's universally accepted. NVIDIA just had a big show the other day on their platform with 10 different humanoid robots. Elon Musk got into it after he saw our robots. Other folks got into it. So a lot of billionaires have gotten into it. But they're all focused again on what I call Terminator robots to move boxes, and later maybe to do something to you. And somebody needs to build a robot that's going to stop theirs, and that's us.
So, Bill, how do you keep this excitement and the drive and the passion that you both clearly have? How do you keep that going?
It's something that's meaningful to me as a person. It makes me a better person to do what I'm doing. It's fundamentally part of the core of who I am, to help people out, and I do have people in my life who make it easier for me to do that, to take those risks that I wouldn't otherwise be able to take, because this is very risky business. Yeah. But it's seeing the big goal and seeing the long horizon goal. This is one of the reasons that, you know, Harry and I also bond over science fiction, because I was a huge science fiction fan from my youth. And I saw the positive vision of where it can go, and the negatives too, but the positives of what it can do for us and how it can improve our lives and how people can live better lives and be happier and be more productive and all these wonderful things. And I don't know, I just tear off those projects as a chunk and say, well, this has to be done. And kind of like Harry, but different. It's like, well, who's going to do this? I mean, somebody's got to do this. And I don't think the other guys are doing it well. You know, I mean, that's part of it too. There's a little bit of pride in there, I guess, of you know what, you guys are all hosers. You don't know what you're doing. I can do this better than you can. So I'm going to try to do it.
I just want the audience to know they may not appreciate this. And again, part of why we're doing these panels is to whet your appetite for learning more about these incredible individuals. Harry, you know, he's being very modest. He really did start a lot of this robot industry. I mean, Godfather right here, like literally. And those guys look to what you've done as setting the stage and Bill, the work that you're doing to continue and perpetuate this, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, in fact, I was in the founding team of XPRIZE and also in Singularity University. I got ANA to put forward $23 million for a prize that 73 teams competed in that jump-started the entire industry by creating certain tech that everyone now is using.
I'll bring in one last comment, which is that we get down to the root ideas of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that's why what is a lot of motivating for us is because we look at it and say, well, wait a minute, they're not solving the real problem. I think we need to be solving this. Here's this meta problem that's beyond what everybody else is looking at. They're all looking at the short term, at the easy things, at to take the piece off the shelf and just do something with it. Whereas we're trying to look at the bigger picture, and that's why we see a discontinuity and a disconnect.
And I just wanted to add, since I had a great privilege in graduate school to be mentored in part by Stephen Jobs because I was in the Next Computing group while I was pursuing my degrees. And I'm not sure how many people realize the entire Apple industry exists because Stephen Jobs wanted a computer that would do liberal arts. That was his entire goal. It's like, no, we need something that could do liberal arts, who could do artwork, who could do fonts, who could do everything. And he's talked about it in many of his speeches. So there's the ultimate in art meets technology.
That's a wonderful way to close because you are so right. In his autobiography, they talk about that was the purpose. That was his purpose. And look at what it spawned. So, gentlemen, can't thank you enough. What an honor. And I hope the audience is not only inspired to learn more about robots, but when those robots are more ubiquitous in our society, remember this man, remember Bill, and remember the work that they did. Thank you.